I'm amazed. So welcome to Products That Count. A few things. First of all, it's great to see, a full house. Our house has been full every month, this year, and it's been only 2 years that we're up. So, show of hands, like, who's here, and was here last month? Okay, so all of you have a copy of my book. Did you read it? There's a quiz at the end. I'm going to be saying just a few words on my book. It's coming out on Monday, and it's a book that has taken me 12 years to write, 12 years of research on what makes for the best mobile products. So I have a few copies that I'll be signing in the back after Tim's talk. And if you're interested in mobile, come and check it out. What I talk about is really like, what is the formula for the best mobile product? So very excited about that. Now, who's here for the first time tonight? You have a blue dot. Okay. So if you're here, like, make sure that you network, you meet people. That's a big part of Products That Count. And another big part, which is really something that, is unique about us in the city, is that we have C-level, like Silicon Valley insiders, and all of them share something that they have never shared before. So it doesn't mean that they create an entirely new talk, but it means that what you're hearing tonight is, very often a first-time share. It's very exclusive and insider. I also want to welcome Vivek, who runs the business side of products at Yelp. We're very excited to have him here. Yelp is, the sponsor that makes these events possible, for over 2 years. They're a fantastic supporter. We're very, very thankful and grateful for their support, and we think they're absolutely awesome. Vivek?
Well, thank you. It's fantastic to have all you here. I'm really excited to hear Tim's talk. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about Yelp, a quick plug, you can check out our blog, and I'll be around. I run product, and we have some folks from our team around. So feel free to introduce yourself, and enjoy. Turn it back to you.
All right. And in case you're wondering, Yelp is also hiring engineers. All right. So, Tim and I, were in business school together. So we've known each other for a really, really long time. A few things that you may not know about him is that he's a fantastic musician. He plays in a few bands. He's smiling. Yeah, he's a very good player, actually. So if you have a chance to come hear him, I encourage you to do that. But, his professional life is, in venture capital, and he's been in venture capital for a really long time. So he knows this business inside out, and he knows Silicon Valley really, really well. He started in gaming. He has a very strong understanding of creative process, of consumer use cases. And what he's saying now is that messaging is going to eat software and the world, which I'm very excited to hear about. So Tim, welcome.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for coming out. I'll admit, I don't know if I have a whole lot of answers, probably a lot of questions for you, some considerations and some speculative trends. This space is evolving so quickly that I was still adding bullet points like 5 minutes before this. And I've listed some of my favorite resources for you on data points so you can kind of keep up. It's kind of an amazing time. This is basically the next big platform shift we're talking about. You might have heard software is eating the world, software is eating hardware. We have definitely seen that. But now there is a consensus that messaging may be eating software. Put another way, any sufficiently good software eventually has to include messaging within it. All native apps you're seeing are including messaging layers. At the same time, as we've seen in China and other parts of the world, you're basically recreating the entire operating system and platform within a messaging interface, right? So that is one interpretation, is how messaging eats software. Kind of an interesting question too is, well, it's a good place to insert AI, because on the other end of a chat message, you don't know if you're talking to a dog, a human, or an AI. And it might not matter. So does AI kind of eat humanity along the way as we make this transition? Why is this happening? And why is this kind of interesting as an opportunity for developers? Well, we're up to more than 50,000 app submits a month, but according to ComScore, majority of smartphone users download a whopping total of 0 apps per month. You kind of calcify your top 10 apps. Think about it. Like on your homepage, you kind of use your standard 10 apps, right? After that, you kind of don't give a shit. So the notion of adding more apps is just getting really hard. The cost per install, the paid acquisition marketing, the friction of getting people to use an app. And then, of course, you've got your day 2, day 7, day 30 retention problems with that. So you've got a lot of sort of living dead apps on your phone, if you will. Think about the number of apps that you have that you actually haven't opened in months. I'm also curious too, how often do you guys actually go through and clean out apps? Does anybody really do that? I've tried to do that, but there you go. Kind of interesting. So, this is a graphic that's been up on some interesting articles lately. There's been TechCrunch, Wired articles about how messaging is the new platform, and it's basically the new post-app app. So what I found is kind of funny. This is the pendulum swinging yet again. Every few years we get this oscillation from heavy client side, like packaged software. Remember Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word. You swing all the way to the other side on the server side with web-based applications. Then when smartphones came out, we swung way back to client side with native apps, and now we're going back to server side. The thing that's interesting about chatbots and messaging, it's all server side controlled. That produces some pretty new opportunities because you don't have to resubmit to the App Store each time to change things. So what this does bring up, though, I kind of wonder about the same old platform versus app developer power dynamic war, right? Because what's going to happen is you get these so-called open platform, Facebook or whoever says, hey, come on in, just like when they launched F8 years ago. Do it all. It's all open. But eventually, as emergent behaviors pop up, the really core stuff gets sucked back into the platform and taken away. So that's always a dance that developers, startups, independent parties have to worry about versus native platform dependency. Nobody wants to get Zinga'd, right? Basically, right? What is messaging good for? What are the best applications or use cases for chat? Why might messaging eat the world? My favorite way to look at it is, for millennials, well, people in general, where are the cases in real life, your existing behaviors where you just feel like, I hate dealing with humans. I just don't want to see them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to go in somewhere. Or deal with a live call. Well, if you go to the bank, that's not a whole lot of fun waiting in line there, right? Could you just do that by messaging? Going to a doctor's office and waiting to see, 60% of doctor office visits are usually just a question. So why do you have to sit in a line like this for that sort of thing, right? Another one would be shopping, waiting in line at, Trader Joe's, even for the express, 15 items or less, often looks like this. And then we've got, travel and things like that when you need to talk to some broker or concierge there. These are examples where, maybe not dealing with face-to-face or live call works best. Now, we've seen a lot of interesting examples. Magic was one of the first. This was very manual. It was all human beings on the other end of these messages. Got a lot of buzz originally. It's like, wow, you can ask Magic anything and a human being is dealing with it. It's like a concierge. I've used it many times. I've gotten babysitters. I've gotten dog food, all sorts of stuff. But I had to wonder, how the hell were they making money on this? And the truth is, you don't. You kind of have a high cost of labor on each side. And early attempts to monetize the chat-based virtual assistant world haven't panned out too well. I've seen a lot of business plans in this area, and as soon as you try to slap a service fee on it, people are like, no thank you. I remember when I quit Magic, I basically texted them and said, hey, it's admin day. Please get my secretary $100 gift card from Amazon. They said, oh, happy to do so. $10 service charge. And I was like, screw it, I'll just do it myself. And so the business plans for a lot of these often be affiliate revenues, but those are really hard because more and more affiliate transactions is kind of a race to the bottom. And Amazon reliance, as they decrease affiliate cuts on a lot of these transactions, it just leaves less and less margin for some of these kind of businesses. So I think the jury is still out on how these kinds of concierge to shopping businesses work, but they're very interesting early use cases. There's some fun little hacks. I don't know if you've heard of Eat Arcade, message saying, one choice, this is the item of the day, yes to order. It's kind of fun. You could say there's benefit to not having tons of choices. Maybe small interface, single choices lead to better conversion. We got other little hacks, like we've got Slack bots now. Plus is kind of fun, a gamification to give karma, add a point, deduct a point, some gamification there. My friend Robin has launched Operator, probably the most beautiful looking experience for the shopping concierge yet. They do some excellent deep research, and they've got human experts researching the best options for you, whether it's shopping bags or food or all sorts of things like that. And now, the question is, how are conversion rates going? Does it lead to repeat habitual usage? Does that relationship go and lead to habitual, ongoing purchases, and then maybe that leads to a way that you'll recover your cost of acquisition and then recover also the cost of your labor. I think the models for many of these things is that they start off with human agents on the other end of these, but the hope is that more AI and more automation will kick in to help this scale. One that I've seen is totally automated that I kind of enjoy is Lark. Lark has done a really good job of pure AI chatbot specifically for helping people deal with diabetes. It's behavior change, behavior modification. And the way I kind of think of it, it's almost like a little personal angel on your shoulder reminding you, don't eat that, eat this. Did you take these steps? How are you feeling? Little daily activities. And that has actually proven to have shown some increase in compliance with dealing with diabetes behavior change. That's kind of an interesting use case right there. We've even gone really meta with this. You've heard of, kind of API connectors like if this, then that. You'll see the same thing here. Companies like Assist are now trying to plug and wire together all the different services and be sort of like a meta chatbot, right? So you'll have services plugged in these routers that start to be kind of meta integrations. Enterprise area is one I'm even more excited about. Why I like this is because enterprises pay a lot. They have dedicated standard workflows that you do every day. So think of it this way. Salespeople actually hate using Salesforce.com. Have any of you used Salesforce.com, by the way? Do you actually enjoy it, or is it because your boss tells you to? Salesforce.com was designed by engineers for sales managers who want to enforce compliance and data entry for their salespeople. But, when you have potentially chatbots that enter information into those systems of record for you, it's as if you had a secretary that was filling out those fields for you. So I thought Kit CRM was quite interesting. They're basically doing CRM as a chat-based workflow here, and their target is small and medium businesses who can't even afford in-house marketing, don't even know what online marketing is or social media marketing. So they basically distilled the entire workflow of something like marketing automation or CRM into this daily little, would you like this? Would you like that? Sort of, oh, hey, we notice your Facebook likes are down. Want me to run a campaign? Yes, no, yes. Oh, great. How much do you want to spend? 50, 100, 150? So it basically turns all the decisions into a flow and then kind of limited choices, which I found pretty interesting. So expect to see a lot more in chatbot application for enhancing, automating, and reducing the workload of existing enterprise applications. Really big area, by the way. You're going to see some new metaphors like search. Fin is an interesting company. They're trying to create sort of a new query-like system, a search-like system for the world of messaging. Right now it's very unstructured, and they've got human experts looking at this as well, but you can ask many different things and then get some interesting follow-up actions. I thought this was kind of cool. You take a picture of this shipping label and you basically say, hey, give me the tracking links. And then combination of automation and human people actually then prepare the response for you. Let's do some basic definitions here. There's a bit of confusion on what is just a chat tool, a chat interface, what's a chat bot, and what is AI. What I'm seeing Gen 1 messaging chat interfaces, they're kind of like dashboards or workflow tools for human agents to be able to do their work inside messaging systems. Example, Chat ID, other companies like that, which are B2B tools, allow human customer service agents to answer, replies from customers, but doing it in a chat interface. So that's just sort of a workflow tool, maybe like a SaaS product. We're going to see the rise of bots now, which are procedural and scripted systems. They're not necessarily deep learning or AI. They're probably more sort of based on decision and dialogue trees, but they start the automation process. Real AI tends to introduce and utilize natural language processing as well as natural language understanding engines, machine learning, deep learning, but these require training. They usually take a lot of historical transactions, historical data sets, and try to then model those out and learn. This moves towards autonomy. And there's a new term I've been hearing some friends, especially sci-fi authors, throw around, which is a centaur, which would be a combination of human plus AI working in tandem. That's a really interesting one, and actually that area I'm most bullish on is how AI augments humans and, well, probably later replaces us, but hey, hopefully we have a few years left before we're obsolete. Resources for you. There's a list of links here, but bot.watch, Slackbot list, bot family, AI hub. There's a lot of these that lists of new chatbots popping up. And Matt Schlicht actually has a great Facebook page. Check out facebook.com/groups/bots. And it's a private group, but I think he'll let you on. That has been really interesting to see the real-time experiments people have been putting up. So, sorry for the eye chart, but I'm going to run through some interesting questions and considerations I've been thinking about. When we talk about messaging-based services, are we really better off going after existing behaviors, or are we trying to introduce new functionality? My take, it's probably easier to take existing behaviors and see if you can shoehorn them into chat interfaces. But like with all new platforms, the killer hit, the Angry Birds, the whatever it is that will come up will probably be something we haven't imagined yet. That's your guys' job to come up with. Should we assume all existing native apps will need to add in messaging into their apps? I say yes, especially if you're going to have community effects, network effects, those sorts of things coming in. For conversational interfaces, are we talking about unstructured natural language processing, or is it going to be more this IVR style structured workflow, just limited choices? Choose 1, 2, 3, or 4, yes or no, and kind of have that decision tree from there. A lot of people say to me, you know what, we've seen this movie before. We're just following the China WeChat playbook. I do think there is something to that. Have you guys seen WeChat? Have any of you tried WeChat before? It's pretty fascinating. They've basically reconstructed the entire web into a chat interface. So the messaging app is the browser, and everything is done within that. And so we kind of look at that as an example of where things could be heading. But what's interesting is that even the WeChat ecosystem is evolving too. They've got everything in there. They've got payments and queries and micro apps and all sorts of things. But that's a fun thing to study. The difference is we're still a bit more fragmented. Facebook Messenger is definitely out there. We all have Facebook accounts. Not everyone's actively using it. We've got Kik, we've got Telegram, we've got WhatsApp. We've got a lot more fragmentation as opposed to the entire country of China on WeChat on a single platform. Messaging is a really limited interface in terms of screen real estate. So you got to think design constraints. What is good design in messaging? How much do you show the user? And what is the right metaphor? Is it based on search and query, or is it based on these curated limited choices, trying to predict what the user wants? A lot of people are asking, what are the right killer apps or maybe mini apps within chat? The obvious one is 3G. 3G is basically, games, girls, gambling, that sort of thing. We're going to see that, of course. But we're going to see commerce. We're going to see on-demand services getting sort of shoehorned into messaging interfaces. Finance, banking is a natural one. Healthcare, we've got Health Tap in the house. We'll give some anecdotes of how that's working. Personal coaching is a big favorite of mine. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Education, and of course, concierge assistance. A lot of us on the investment side, entrepreneur side, we got burned last time in the native app world with platform dependency. If Apple decided to change something on their API, or if Facebook decided to change their notification stream, if you were single platform dependent, it's a really tough way to build a business. This might go even more so in messaging based world. If you're betting your entire business on adoption through Facebook Messenger, what if they change their analytics stack or their payment terms or those sorts of things? So a big question is, how do we avoid this whole getting zinged thing on top of messaging platforms? To that, what is defensibility? Can you build network effect? Can you get user lock-in? Can you have a stronger direct user relationship on top of someone else's messaging network? And then what are the best business models? I'll give you some of my thoughts on this later, but I'm going to give some hypotheses and postulations here. I think with the rise of messaging, your inbox becomes the new home screen. This is the new app's homepage. If that's the case, you better know me well. Don't ask me to repeat myself. You should know my identity, my credit card number, all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, don't spam me. This will be the single biggest risk in this entire ecosystem, is that if chatbots, if messaging-based services don't get the push cadence right, this whole thing will become as meaningless as the notification screen on your phone. Does anyone actually pay attention to the notification screen on their smartphone? Or the red meatballs? Or push notifications. I think I gave up on that stuff last year. And so that is the biggest risk, is if chatbots are frankly too chatty, then you're just going to start muting, deleting, or just not paying attention. Especially if they're trying to re-engage you all the time. What if each of your accounts are here, you've got Chase, you've got JCrew throwing you yet another buy 4, get 1 free thing or something like that. And if they don't disappear, you get this endless stream. Do any of you guys have Slack chat thread fatigue, when it's so chatty that you just give up on trying to follow it because it just keeps going, they don't erase? So that is one metaphor I wonder too, is should some of these in-chat messages, should they disappear Should they be transient like Snapchat? Should they expire when they're no longer relevant? Or is it always going to be a running record? Here's the other question too. Let's play devil's advocate. Is conversational UI really best in all cases? So this was a fun one. I read an article, wanted to grab this graphic, but sort of imagine UberBot. So it says, all right, call me an Uber. Where are you? Coffee bean here. Okay, there's 3 of these. You want a town car? By the time you're done answering each of these things to provide context, this is far more clicks than just pulling up Uber and just pressing 3 buttons, right? Even if you type in Coffee Bean near 14th Street, how many clicks and taps is that versus a well-designed app? So that's going to be the question mark here. And then, really, are we talking about conversational interfaces, or is it going to be better micro apps within chat? Are they sort of widgets as the new mini apps? This is a bit of an eye chart, I apologize here, but it's sort of comparing media formats, little bubble types between Facebook, WeChat, Line, and Telegram. They all implement different media and widget types in different ways, right? On the bottom here, you also have different command paradigms. Telegram uses buttons. Facebook has structured messages. Telegram also has slash commands, like command line interfaces. So we've got a whole syntax that's going to be defined in real time. But you can imagine a war on these platforms is who's innovating on these widget support types and who's going to open them up for you guys, for entrepreneurs, to create new widget types, these sort of micro in-chat apps. So what is the new core competency going to be in the age of messaging? I actually say context is king. Context is everything when it comes to messaging-based services. More context equals more value. And the value of your chat decreases when you need more info, clarification from the user. It's equivalent to that old saying in the web page and in the native app world. You know how every extra click you have is 50% drop off of engagement. Same thing here. Every extra piece of info you need from the user is going to drive fatigue. So that begs the question, are these messaging platforms going to provide rich enough APIs and give you that ability to pull the information of context, location, payment info, identity, history preferences, all those sorts of things, so that you have a leg up and already know the user context without having to go through that long flow of pulling information, right? So that could hopefully lead to more collapsed and ongoing conversations with better context. But this does then lead to the question, who gets the context? Who can own that context and that user data? It's all going to be about, do you have that user's identity, the context and the data? And then do you have a running record of that transaction history? Some interesting examples here. We're going to see more and more e-commerce purchase receipts within Facebook Messenger. So on the left here, there's an example of an Everlane one. Thanks for shopping with Evernote. Here's a link to your receipt. The benefit of that asynchronous ongoing thread knows your past transaction history. So the next time you communicate with it, it should already authenticate, know your identity, know what you bought last time, know the item in question, know your buying patterns. So it should have a lot of context carried within that. On the right, there's an example of a company called Digit that's got a service that's trying to show sort of banking transactions. I think it's that running history thread that is the most interesting part, because you're building up transaction history, user profiling info, and essentially this sort of proprietary data stream about your users. Some other considerations and potential trends. Let's talk about user acquisition. What is user acquisition within messaging? Well, the good news is it's probably lower cost for now than CPIs of trying to get app installs. Why is that? An SMS sign-up funnel is theoretically less friction than getting somebody to do an app download. And these chat, texting, messaging platforms are not flooded yet with a ton of these things. So you might have this first mover advantage. There's going to be then considerations on, once you have your chat app or your bot deployed, what are the operations intensity like? Good news, faster to write these. You don't have a GUI to deal with, so it should be cheaper and faster to deploy these and write them. Also, the benefit, remember we talked about server-side control? If this is all controlled server-side, it's so much faster to implement changes, do A/B testing, do different flows, versus App Store resubmits of native apps. One other interesting paradigm to think about is the notion of push versus pull messaging. So you'll have proactive chat apps that push to users. And when you push to users, remember I talked about you have to be very careful about how chatty you are. I think another core competency is something I could think about as just in time and just enough. So you just want the right amount of helpful info at the right time. Then you wait patiently for the user to respond and maybe pull the next transaction, pull for more specific info, follow up, or the next step in that transaction. We're going to see a big war for in-messaging app micro browsers and transcoding. How do you render other format types within there? Or how do you pull them into micro browsers without leaving the messaging experience? So we're going to see sort of smarter and smarter message formats that are going to structure content like mini web pages that have more precise and efficient communication between bots and humans. And then the big one I'm like talked about before, consumer versus enterprise messaging services and bots. Enterprise, you're going to see messaging layers and bots enhancing existing line of business apps. The big ones, CRM, HRM, marketing automation, customer service. There should be big money in there. The longer term kind of ideas that I've been thinking about quite a bit. What is good UX in the world of messaging? Specifically, does personalized tone, language, emotion play a role? Will there be such a thing as empathy design when it comes to chatbots? Remember debating Ray Kurzweil on this once. He's thinking about how to hack biology to achieve immortality. I actually think we're going to achieve simulated digital immortality via chatbots or me-bots. Me-bots is a great term, far before we figure out how to hack our biology. I would argue if you gave me all your historical emails and text messages, could probably write sort of a semantic analyzer and simulate your language and you to the point a lot of people couldn't tell that it wasn't you, right? If you feed enough data, it could basically live as a simulation of you in that messaging world, right? We're going to have metabots that project manage other bots. We're probably going to see domain and screen names squatting on messaging platforms. Who's going to be the first to own hashtag target, things like that. Security and privacy concerns. All these chatbots, they store a lot of transaction history. What if that gets hacked? How do you authenticate? And what happens if people start spoofing you or Target or Bank of America? Authorship and agency is a fun one. As AI gets interjected more and more into this, I think we're going to have the ability to outsource our life more and more. We're already outsourcing tasks. Soon we'll outsource thinking. What I mean by that is, you've seen my transaction history. You probably know my preferences. Look at all the considerations and think for me. Tell me what I probably like. I actually think you'll be able to outsource creativity. As a musician, I've been thinking a bit about this. If I fed enough pieces of music I've written to an analyzer, it could probably analyze my favorite chord progressions, cadences. It'd know my style, more or less. And then I could say, okay, now mash that up with the analysis of the Beatles writing style and write every possible piece of music that would be me, heavily into the Beatles. I'll pick the most interesting examples. I'll claim authorship on that. And that's essentially AI-assisted creativity. We'll see, maybe even AI-based assisted consumption. Go read this book for me. Tell me the parts that I would like. We'll have more and more outsourced decision-making, maybe communications. I'm looking for the bots that'll automatically wish everybody on Facebook every day happy birthday for me in a unique way, so I don't have to go do that shit anymore. Relationships. Pretty soon, I will have my bot talk to yours. They'll probably run through all sorts of eHarmony style tests, and they will know if we're compatible or not. My favorite part is that messaging, and if you analyze messaging threads, it probably knows your actual behavior far better than your, kind of self-described behavior. Like when you're filling out a dating profile, you always write what you think you really, really like. But the truth is your actual behavior is probably far more captured in emails and your actual browsing behavior, your messaging behavior. So scary thought, but your AI or chatbot might know you better than the way you would describe yourself. What will new gestures and UI metaphors be? I think we're going to see some interesting evolution of what emoji means. There'll be whole new types of hashtags, /commands, queries. And then there'll probably be some interesting equivalents of like, all right, to bounce out of this and dial 0 to talk to a human now, there'll be those sorts of opportunities as well. That's a good upsell opportunity too. With that, with the human element, I kind of wonder, does the human get diminished in the ongoing sort of centaur relationship? It's sort of like our job right now. The human is probably the primary agent. You're making judgment calls, but what you're really doing is you're training the bot and AI half of the centaur to get better and better. Eventually, it may not need you anymore. What do you do then? This is an eye chart as well, but from the investor standpoint, here's all the stuff I'm looking at. This is basically a replay of the playbook of last time when the rise of web and native apps came up. We saw a whole set of things we needed, from front end, back end, DevOps, all that stuff. The same thing will happen here. Of course, like I talked about, between the platform wars, which parts will the messaging platforms dominate? Which will they take back? So on the front end side, you're going to have chatbot widget creation and tools. You'll have custom dev shops. You'll have white label providers, self-service build-a-bot tools. You'll have bot UX design shops, cross-platform dev tools. Already you're seeing Fortune 500 brands coming saying, we don't know how to do this. Who can do this? We want to hire somebody to write bots for us. You'll have all the enabling platforms, analytics, backend as a service, storage, directory, contact, search, security, billing, payment, all that kind of stuff will pop up again. So these will be the flurries, the mix panels, all those same playbooks popping up. Distribution and marketing. You can think about what chatbot widget stores will look like, just like third-party app stores. What will advertising and cross-promo look like? Will we have a next-gen CPI model in this world as well? Then here's the fun one though. We'll have more chatbot operations and intelligence providers. You'll have aggregators, the notion of master versus slave bots. You'll have AI as a service. If you can't build it your own, you might rent somebody else's AI. You'll have personalization and learning engines that can inject some personality or different tone or emotional vibes into your bots. Of course, like I talked about with the centaurs, the human agents are really interesting. Do you want to build that yourself, or would you engage a human agent network for hire? Will they be a generalist one, or will they be a specialized one? And there'll be a whole field probably of folks that will do third-party AI and bot training for you on demand. Enterprise applications, we talked about this AI augmented workflow for existing line of business apps. CRM, sales, marketing automation, all of those are the obvious ones that are already happening now. And then we'll have collaboration tools for teams. What do VCs look for then when we're investing in this space? I'm looking for protection against platform dependency. I've lost so much money getting Zyngaed or branched out or all these sorts of things. I don't want to see that happen again in the messaging-based world. Does that mean you need to be cross-platform? Also, what does a registered user look like? What is the definition of a MAU, DAU in this world? I want to see if you have the ability to own the customer relationship directly. Maybe because you build up a lot of proprietary data about that user's transaction and context history. Is there such thing as network effects you can build? For example, can you get a developer ecosystem going? Can you get a community going around your bot, your messaging service? Engagement's going to be a fun one. This one's kind of interesting because, do you remember in the early days of mobile native apps, we only counted number of downloads? But then we got smarter and realized, we have to look at actual active users. This will be a fun one too because your message might be sitting in the inbox of a user forever. So technically you haven't been deleted yet, but you might not be getting read or you might not be getting replied to in that. So the notion of active usage, active engagement with that chat thread, are you converting to a paid transaction? And then are you getting repeat habitual usage? This is all the same stuff we look at on unit economics. You've got cost now. Cost, if you have human agents running stuff, that's some hard costs. You've got labor associated with that, which is why you want to move towards automation. But you're going to have the per transaction economics, the standard metrics, contribution margin, CAC payback, the assumed lifetime value. My favorite though here is if you earn the trust of somebody, you've got an ongoing relationship, ongoing discussion, conversation with that user. Could that lead to a subscription type model? My favorite areas, personal concierge, coaching, assistant, that angel on your shoulder thing, once you earn the user's trust. Enterprise apps will be a pretty no-brainer area here with SaaS and subscription models. Again, streamlining and augmenting existing workflows. And the whole point is make your workers faster and smarter. One quick example. We've got a fun little company called Outreach.io. They analyze every email every salesperson in your company has ever written and also analyze the same thing across all companies. And basically, when you're going to write an email in Outlook or Gmail, it'll basically say, hey, let me kind of tweak your email for you. And I think I can get a better response for you based on open rates I've seen from all these others. So it's actually helping you write better sales emails. So you can see that now applied to all sorts of areas, marketing automation, customer service, etc. Sad truth, a lot of plays in this messaging wars, just like the native app wars, might not be standalone companies, but that's okay because there's going to be a lot of strategic acquisition value in this. There's going to be a lot of platforms that are going to be needing this, and then there's going to be a lot of folks that are falling behind. They're going to want to pick this up. The big one is talent. Talent in the messaging and chatbot area is driven heavily around AI and machine learning. Chat about that a little bit more. To that point, I really do think AI talent and proprietary data will be the new oil and gold. So, it's kind of a strange little acronym, but we've got these new superpowers. Facebook, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Apple. They are snapping up all of the AI talent out there. They're acqui-hiring them. They're buying academic teams. the world doesn't generate a whole lot of AI talent. There's probably 6 or 7 universities that are considered world class. We don't have much coming out of there, so they're all getting gobbled up. It'll be impossible for other Fortune 500s to even hire them. And so, what's interesting is, though, this does force the so-called slow kids to catch up, right? And they're going to do all this catch-up M&A. Who are those folks that are most motivated and going to lose out to these new superpowers? It's going to be Verizon and Comcast. You're going to have your Fortune 500s like General Motors. That's why they bought Cruise, right? General Electric, banks and insurance companies, healthcare institutions, retailers, they're all going to fall behind as AI and bots start picking up and taking over their business through messaging interfaces. And then, of course, we're going to see a similar movie play out on the enterprise side, starting with Slack versus, say, Yammer or Outlook or all these sorts of things. We're going to have a reinvention of the interfaces for Salesforce.com, SAP, Adobe, Microsoft to messaging and AI-driven workflows. So those big guys are going to be doing lots of acquisition to keep up and then to stockpile sort of weapons against each other. So fun sidebar question I want to pose to you guys. Just think about it in the back of your mind. What would you suggest your kids to major in the post-bot AI world? Obviously, there's artificial intelligence, there's data science, but next-gen design, behavioral economics, social psychology. I actually think, believe it or not, ethics and philosophy will be a big one. Teaching your AI what to optimize and proper behavior balance will be a really interesting question. Poetry? Would that be even more useful in how you creatively phrase or voice things in the chatbot world? Who knows this movie? We all know this. This is, I think, where it's ultimately headed. We get sufficient AI. I would want my interface to be ScarJo. I'd be happy with that. But hey, that might be a whole new business model too. Do you want it to be Samuel L. Jackson? On some days, do you want your chatbot to swear at you? I think it'd be far more engaging. There's actually kind of an interesting opportunity, which is the anthropomorphization of robots, chatbots, etc., is a really easy to do tweak that humans appreciate inordinately more. So you could put voice packs, humor packs, those sorts of things as you tweak it. I think it'd be kind of fun if my GPS unit kind of swore at me and said, "You dumbass, you missed that left turn again." It's actually more fun. And you might even forgive it more for not always getting the right recommendation to you. So just something to think about. UI, UX, and design in this world might be by adding a little bit more persona and flavor. With that, I want to call up a couple folks in the audience who might have some fun things to show. Let's start with Health Tab. They actually just did a Facebook integration. Do you want me to? I'm going to have you come up and I'm going to give you the mic and I'm going to run that demo.
Cool. This one is for Tim in that case. So what we did is we launched at F8 an integration with HealthTap. And basically what HealthTap does, it's a virtual healthcare company. And what you can do is if you click on message, you don't have to go to our website anymore or to download our app, but you can just ask a specific health question in here, like my baby Max. Oh yeah, whatever you do. I have ADHD. That's a good one as well. So normally you would go to a website. What you can do here. Are you on? Never do a live demo, huh? So what you would do is ask your question. Yeah? Do we have Wi-Fi? There we are. So basically you ask your question, should I take my baby to the emergency room for a fever? And what we do is pull up answers out of our library. So we have over 100,000 doctors in the network that answered already over 4 billion health answers. And basically it gives you a related answer. So in this case, this is an answer from a doctor. And you can read the full answer in here if you want. Yep. So you can see that 2 other doctors agreed. It's a bit like Stack Overflow that other doctors can weigh in if they like that answer that the other doctor gave. And if you're not satisfied, you click on more options, because this might be a related answer, not the answer that you're looking for. So what you can do is either send your question to our network of the 100,000 doctors. So within a day, a real doctor comes back to you and gives you an informational answer. Or if that's not enough for you, you can go and click on talk to a doctor now, and then indeed, you go to our website. This is a landing page. You can actually do a virtual consult with a real doctor. I think what we learned by launching this as the first health company with Facebook 2 weeks ago is that if you compare the activation and engagement to, let's say, our iOS app flow or our web flow, this was significantly different. So we had about an 80% activation rate and an engagement rate, so people that asked questions or actually talked to a doctor, was about 41%. And the monetization rate was also spectacular. I cannot disclose it at the moment, but I think for us it was really helpful to basically use a bot and have people ask health questions instead of that you go to a website or to an app to search in a search engine. So I think for us it's really interesting. And I think the difficult thing for us now is, so if you have answers for that, discovery. So it's nice, of course, that you have this functionality, and a lot of people like to use it and the engagement is high. But how do you end up at facebook.com/health app and then click on message? So I think what's still missing in your presentation, or I think what I like to add there, is how do you do the discovery of this? Because user acquisition is pretty simple for an app. You have App Store optimization or traditional other models. But here, how do you drive traffic actually to this bot? I mean, word of mouth, okay. We had, media attention, but that's temporary. So how are you going to drive traffic here? How do you do referral, for example?
Right.
I think that are a couple of our questions that we basically are struggling with and iterating on.
What would SEM look like? Is it Facebook ads, those sorts of things, right?
Very good question. And do people
still.
actually search in Facebook for an health question? Right. Or can we pop up when two friends talk about basically, hey, my tummy hurts?
Right.
I think it's a bit intrusive if we then show an ad or that you can click on talk to a doctor, right? So I think this is a whole new space, is how do you do discovery?
Quick question, how robust, how ready is the Facebook platform for this? You're one of the first ones on it. Were you pretty satisfied? There are still some parts that are kind of broken or kind of flimsy?
It works perfectly well. No, it's a joke. It works pretty well. Yeah. I must say, you have some UI glitches and you're limited in the things that you can build in there. You probably saw already some things in there. Yep. We have to break down, let's say, a long answer in different bubbles. You sometimes have to pop up another bubble to end up, let's say, at a flow towards the homepage. Yep. So it's still, you have some limitations in there. And especially for health, that's more difficult. So I think that is one. And then discovery is another thing that they haven't launched at all, but I think we talked already.
And then I was asking before, is in-chat purchase ready, and what cut will they take? Yeah. And that's not disclosed yet, right?
No. Yeah. But that's a whole other area. It's what we want to do, obviously, here in the future, is that you can do a live chat with a real doctor.
Yep.
Instead of going out to a flow, because you lose quite a lot of people there.
Excellent.
So that's next.
Thank you. Very good. Appreciate it.
There is some smartness. Yeah. So the question is this, you call just the API, or is there some smartness on top of this? And the answer is there is some smartness on top of this. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Very good.
Okay.
We've got one other member in the audience here, from Movie Lala, who's been doing some interesting things as well. Would love to get some quick field notes on what you've seen out there as well.
Sure. I'm the CEO of Movie Lala, and we are a mobile distribution platform for upcoming movies. And we've been going down to LA and closing deals with Disney, Fox, Lionsgate, Paramount, Skydance, Legendary, Universal. And while we were building our consumer-facing app, we were also building partnerships with the messaging platforms. And we saw a ton of engagement, obviously bringing unique content from the studio into the chat apps, because the future of messaging apps is going to be a convergence of the 3 C's, which is chat, content, and commerce. And so while we were working with unique content from the studios with the trailers, we were trying to figure out how we can make a more transactional business between watching the trailer and being able to buy a Star Wars t-shirt, or being able to buy a poster or a book that's related to the film. And so now we're moving into a new direction based on what we noticed with the chat app engagement, which was very high. And that's in the digital commerce space. So right now we're working on building the largest database of emoji and sticker marketplace here in the United States with artists from all over the world. And that way we can start to build emojis and stickers for the entertainment space. So when people are chatting with their friends, they can start to incorporate cool and unique stickers and emojis from our artists from all over the world. And the new website will be called Moji Lala, Mojilla. We're still in stealth mode right now, but we actually see emojis and stickers as a language that's becoming more and more prevalent with the younger generation. So we will be one of the first to be providing the stickers and emojis for entertainment.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to wrap up with a couple things here. Just some other quick notes I wanted to share with you. A lot of people have been asking, hey, when is AI good versus what are humans good for in that sort of centaur, AI plus human relationship? What we found so far, a lot of our companies, they're using AI and automation for the upfront data collection. For example, if it was filling out standard forms, getting user info, AI can do that pretty well. Also offers an excellent sense of instant response to users. AI is really good for repetitive tasks and standard workflows. With the big enough data set too, it's good at detecting edge cases from large sample sets. Sometimes machine learning AI can find correlation and interesting patterns you never would have detected. Case in point, my friends at Health IQ, they found this really interesting correlation that if you use a lot of foul language and you post social media at weird hours, there's 86% chance you're a smoker. The AI is also good for scaling humans. Remember I talked about personal coaching? So normally a coach, a nutritionist, whatever, you might only be able to support 7 clients in real time. With AI sending out a lot of the right kinds of messages and automating the push, that human nutritionists might be able to support 200 clients virtually because the AI is writing a lot of the messages at the right time with the right info for them. So very good for that proactive push, the monitoring portion of it as well. Humans are really good for the judgment calls, for those sort of in between the cracks cases. Humans are also really good for providing that bedside manner to humans. Establishing trust on the first transaction is really big. If you're trying to do a coaching type long-term repeat relationship with a user via messaging, a lot of times you want to know who the hell is this person. So sometimes at least a video call or a phone call is useful there. After that, they never want to talk to you live again. They just want to go straight to text and messaging. Ultimately, we are turning into tagging monkeys. So our job is to tag things and train the machine. It's sort of like a sampling sort of phenomena. Hey, show the machine how to do it once. After that, it doesn't need you anymore. So that'll be kind of an interesting thing. It's kind of like how Uber and self-driving cars will turn us into sort of human courier robots. And it'll say, all right, here, Trader Joe's, go pick up that box. Okay, get back in. All right, give that box to Joe. And so it's fun. We get turned into robots. So that'll be kind of an interesting relationship between the automation AI versus the human side of that relationship. Some favorite areas to consider for messaging services. I like the found money one. That's where you OAuth something in and the AI, the system can go search through all the, prices on Amazon you overpaid for or flights that you probably should have been owed money for and go get all that stuff for you. So I've heard that called justice as a service. Long hold time transactions, dealing with Comcast install or whatever, where you have to wait in line. Bots are great at waiting in line for you and saying, hey, you ready yet? You ready yet? Similarly, this is sort of like paperwork hell. You ever have to file something with local government or with, the federal government and you're like, where's this thing? Bots would be great at following up and saying, hey, what's the status? Hey, what's the status? And just driving that government worker insane until you get your results. Stock trading, the personal coaching part we've talked about for everything from nutrition, finance, mental health, dating, etc. Those will all be pretty interesting areas. But long term, I'm really, really excited about MeBots. I want to see how much of my life I can automate to the point where you won't know if it's me or it's my bot, but my bot is doing stuff on my behalf with my preferences and probably doing stuff better than I could. So it'd be fun. It'd be turned into software. With that, I'll see if the audience has any questions.
We take one question because
Okay.
you have a
All
plane
right.
to catch.
Sure.
One question.
That's a really good question. We talked about that before, what fits messaging better, right? Conversational interfaces that require a lot of complexity that apps can't handle in just straight pull-down menu. If it's, for example, ordering pizza, an app is far better than dealing with it versus back and forth chat. But if it's something a lot more complex, for example, actually even arranging, for example, a group itinerary for travel, there's so many parameters in that actually dealing with a web, you probably run out of pull-down menus to do. So high multivariable, multi-parameter type of things, complex transactions which require bundling, a lot of research or judgment in there is pretty good for that. It's sort of like something an expert system would be good at. Yeah. Is that?
Tim, thank you very much. That was really awesome. All right. So one thing to know is that, our speakers are excited to come and speak here. And in fact, Tim, is going to be leaving in a few minutes because he has a red-eye plane to catch, to New York because he really wanted to be here tonight. And so he's taking the red-eye. So thank you for being here, Tim. That was awesome. Another thing to know about him is we started at the beginning of this year to measure the net promoter score of our events. And so depending on the speaker, the net promoter score varies a little bit. And so I was sharing with him, our net promoter score varies from 70 to 75. He's like, piece of cake. That's very easy to beat. So now is reality time. In your inbox, if you look at your email right now, we sent you a very quick survey. It's like 3 questions. I really encourage you to fill it up. It's very useful for Tim as a speaker. It's very useful for us to create better events for us. So please take a couple of minutes to fill that in. Now, as you do this, you have to go to the airport. Okay. Thank you very much. As you do this, I want to talk about what is going to happen next. So if you want to please gather here, if you have a shout out to make. So shout outs are one of the very popular time of our events where people announce, if they're hiring, if they're looking for a job, if they have a new startup, they're looking for users, they have a new idea they want to share with the audience. So if there's something that you'd like to share, please come over here, gather here. And especially if you're a first timer, we're going to give you a giveaway. Okay, come on in.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler Gordon. I'm actually the co-founder of a company called Agent Inbox. We build communication and scheduling tools for real estate agents. We're here just to learn about messaging products, but we're actually opening up our product to third-party developers to build out bots, services for the real estate industry. We have about 60,000 real estate agents under contract for our product, which is about 5% of the market, and very excited about what can be done to help facilitate a real estate transaction between the two agents as well as between the different vendors and the buyer and sellers. So if anyone has any ideas or interest in talking about it, I'd love to meet you. Thanks.
Thank you. And you get a book because you were a first-timer. Anybody else wants to do a shout out, please gather here. It's usually very popular, so please don't hesitate.
Hi, I'm Drew Garcia. I am CEO of a startup in Los Angeles, and we've created a natural language processing engine optimized for text messaging. And so we're providing it as a service for people that want to make intelligent chatbots. So if you're a developer and you know how to make, or you've dreamed up this amazing experience, and the part that's missing is the ability to understand natural language, you could use our platform to build something truly amazing. So if you're interested, come find me. The service name is Lumin, LUMIN.ai. Thank you.
Thank you. Here you go. Anybody else wants to do a shout out? Come on in. I'm speaking half French tonight. If you want to do a shout out, please stand up and come over.
Hey guys, I'm Stanley. I'm from Play-Doh, and we're a messenger that's doing proper multiplayer games. I believe we're the only messenger that's focusing with that right now. We are currently in stealth mode, but the cool thing is we're backed by a couple of the early angel investors on WhatsApp. So if you're curious, come talk to me. Thanks.
Here you go. Here you go. All right. One more shout out or any more shout outs? If you want to shout out, come over. We're going to end them in a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Cecily Law. This is my first Product That Counts meetup. I recently got hired as a bot evangelist for Gupshot.io. It's a cross-platform bot building platform. And I run a monthly messaging 3.0 meetup. I may change the name, where we host and promote anyone who's created a bot, and they can tell us and share with the community their learnings about building it. So find me, Cecily Robin SF, or Cecily Robin Law, LOUGH on LinkedIn, or Messaging 3.0. Thanks.
Thank you.
James Vanderbeek, first time caller, I guess. No. Anyway, I work for Cineverse, billion-dollar company that nobody's ever heard of. We work with Fortune 1000 companies to help them engage their customers via mobile. One of the reason I'm here is to, we're pretty dumb about this whole AI bot kind of stuff. And so we're looking for cool companies that can make us look smart in front of our customers and augment our product offering. So come to talk to me if you got something cool to say.
Hey, I'm Pascal. I'm the CEO of Giant.com, Giant with a Y. This is a company that will lead you from a medical symptom to a diagnosis, which is a very, very hard thing to do, which I know. And that's why I'm here today for the first time talking about this. And I'm looking for people who can help me on this, pull this off. So I'm looking for machine learning engineers, AI people who are interested in that field.
All right. So next month, we have a growth hacker who's coming all the way from London. His name is Vincent, and he gave a talk at South by Southwest that won Best Talk People's Award. He's going to be here all the way from London, so I encourage you to come and hear what he has to say. It's going to be May 25th here again. Now, you probably all had on your chair one of these little cards. Okay. This is the cheat sheet on my book. If you want to find out more than what's on there, there are a bunch of books over there that you can check out, and I'll be signing them. So enjoy. See you next month. Network, and thank you for coming.
Thank you.